It is the year 2020, Studio Series 86, Blur and Jazz reveal. Good morning. So let's talk about the Studio Series line for 2021. Normally, the Studio Series is a line that is for the movie figures only, and in the past they were the Michael Bay movie characters that we saw on screen. But this time we're getting the characters from the animated movie, 1986, the Transformers movie, which is interesting. I think that there were a lot of listings and leaks that came out that people were wondering, hey, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. These aren't Michael Bay characters. Well, now it makes sense, right? I mean, we've gotten all of these reveals, and it turns out that this is supposed to be an homage to the movie. And I think what happened was, this is just me making conjecture, but I think that this was supposed to be the third part of the War for Cybertron trilogy. It was supposed to end on the movie characters, and I think that there might have been a decision to make Beast Wars the focus of the third part of the trilogy, the Kingdom line. So all of these planned figures, I think, got moved over to the Studio series, and I think that might have been a boon to the Studio series because they were kind of running out of Michael Bay movies to work with. So it helped to spread out the line further. And I think it makes sense because you've got characters in Kingdom that are not Beast Wars characters, Galvatron and Cyclonus, who I think would have made more sense in the Studio series. So I think it just got split up. But we're going to talk about Blur and and Jazz here. Now, Blur doesn't look like he's too much different from his Titan's Return or Legends figure, and this one is so close. In fact, the colors are so close to that Legends figure. The only real differences that I see are that the arms are engineered differently, and he is no longer a headmaster. Noticeably, his arm features a welding torch, and he comes with his little blaster. I think the lines of the figure are way closer to the Floro or Odiri artistic style. This looks a little less like the blocky G1 style, and I think it's just more closely resembling the sort of the concept art of Floro O'Dear. You can see that in the legs, how they kind of taper off near the knee and they get wider towards the base of the foot. The lines of the vehicle mode, the futuristic car mode, haven't strayed too differently from the Legends toy and the Titan's Return figure, but I think this one no longer has the removable hood, which can become a shield, so it's just part of his transformation, which is great. I think this might be the definitive Blur figure from this point on, honestly. I mean, what else can you do to make Blur more like his on-screen counterpart? And the answer is very little, in my opinion. This is probably as strong of a Blur figure as we're gonna get. But if the arms are a thing that bothers you, then I think that the Legends figure is fine as well. So you can support the weapons underneath the car. There's some weapon storage under there, and it doesn't make the vehicle look too strange or anything like that. So this is really neat. I'm wondering if you can put a little figure and seat him behind the windshield, maybe a Titan's Return or like a Micromaster sized figure. I wonder if that will work. Oftentimes, what happens is you'll get a figure that looks like it has some sort of limited abilities, but then it turns out that they were really meant to combine or have interaction with some other figures. So I'm wondering if this Blur figure has some kind of secret gimmick that is going to be revealed later. The box certainly doesn't show anything out of the ordinary. You can see his number there, 8603, deluxe sized figure, so he will scale appropriately with Cup and Hot Rod, maybe with RC, I'm not sure, and We're supposed to get a new Ultra Magnus in Kingdom, and I'm wondering how big that figure will be compared to these guys. The diorama that comes with Blurr is also an interesting, maybe an odd choice. It looks like it's just Autobot City under siege, which I think it's not as interesting as some of the other backdrops for Grimlock. It was the Quintesson Pit of Judgment in his background. With Hot Rod, it was the inside of Unicron. With Cup, it was underwater with the squid. This is just sort of generic Autobot background. I don't think it really speaks to anything about Blur's nature in general. I think maybe if he had been on the planet of the Junkions, that would have been cooler. I hope, I really do. Yeah, I'm wishing from the bottom of my heart that we get a Wreck-Gar. We probably will, but like a Wreck-Gar and a different Junkion, because I think those were the characters that Blur was fighting against the most. Now in this review, I'm also trying to cover Jazz as well. He's like a, he's the little Porsche that we all know and love. And the thing with this figure, the thing with Jazz is getting the Porsche license is going to be costly. And it looks like they might have found a way to get around paying for the Porsche prices, because it sort of looks like a Porsche, but it's not that specific race car. So I'm thinking that they're trying to just find a way to get the mold without really having to pay for the licensing of that car, which was always going to be an issue with Jazz. And I'm really glad that they came out with a Jazz. I was really missing his appearance in Siege and in Earthrise. It just seemed like he was missing. And now he's here, and it only took until Studio Series to get here, but finally is how I'm feeling. Of note with this figure is that he has the doors that don't open up like wings on his back. They have found a way to engineer them so that they fold up nicely on his back. And the accents that they've given him with that powder blue on his hips and on his chest really make the figure pop, because normally Jazz is just black and white, a little bit of silver here and there. And Jazz is such an important, iconic character that I was just, waiting for the longest time. Here he is with his blaster accessory that he comes with. I think this might be the only accessory, though, that he comes with. The rest of the cost of the figure probably went into the engineering. You can see they did a really good job of making the wheels form onto the legs, and I think the main thing was getting those doors to get onto the back, and you've got that famous front of the car bumper on his chest. It's the Jazz from the movie that we all know and love. There is one thing that I happened to stumble upon. I'm not entirely clear on this, but apparently that the numbering on the side of the car doesn't quite match up perfectly with his original toy. I think that might have been originally a race car number, but there's something about the number 14 that is historic with Jazz, and I'm not sure what that is specifically, but the number here is 1-4, and I don't know, maybe he had 0-4 or the number 4-1 in the past, and then they just swapped it or something. I'm not sure what the story is there, but apparently that is about as significant as the number D16 on Megatron as a designated number. One thing about the Porsche car is I think the front, the bumper section of the grill is a little bit lacking. I wish they would have added a little bit more paint to that. Maybe some paint on the underside of the side of the shell of the car. Maybe have something on the spoiler there, but maybe that's just something that Toy Hacks will help alleviate. You can see that the windscreen is kind of a slightly tinted transparent plastic, which I think is fine. The whole car is just remarkable in my opinion. I think this is another one of those figures that's just gonna be the de facto go-to Jazz from this point on, and this is probably gonna still have all of its value years and years later. You'll find this on the secondary market. I'm really a big fan of what they did with the box art here. You see that smirk that Jazz is posing with. I think that's really wonderful. His number on the box is 8601. Deluxe sized figure makes sense. Now, the backdrop, the diorama that he comes with, is another really good one. He's going to be featured with the backdrop from Moonbase 1. Or it could be Moonbase 2, because I'm not, maybe my memory isn't as great as it used to be. But here he is. He's got all the console of the computer, and he can pose him right there. He used to be in that scene with Bumblebee. So a lot of these things have little Easter eggs and things that they slowly reveal over time. I'm wondering if we're gonna get a Bumblebee also in the Studio Series 86 line. He's already gotten one that was exclusive through the through the Earthrise line. So, or maybe it's Generation Selects. So now I'm wondering if we're gonna get Bumblebee to go with this Jazz and complete that scene from the movie. That'd be great.